Good evening. I'm Claire Kelly, Councilmember for the First Ward, chairing APW. We'll now convene the meeting of APW on March 23rd at 5:05. And Director Kano, if you take roll.
Councilmember Newsma.
Here.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Councilmember Isles.
Here.
Thank you. And I think we have to move to approve virtual participation. If somebody would like to move.
I will move to allow Councilmember Davis to participate remotely, assuming she qualifies under one of the allowable reasons.
Second. But do we have to, no,
I think we have to take,
don't we have to do
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Kelly.
yes,
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
great. Approved. Okay, now I'd like to ask, with permission, the group that's going to be presenting this evening on the waste transfer station, the Environmental Justice Group, has asked that the public comments go after their presentation. They'll still be restricted to the 2 minutes, so if that's okay with everybody, I'd like to allow that. If there are no objections, I'm going to go ahead then and allow the public comment to follow the presentation by the subcommittee of the Environmental Justice Group. Okay, so,
Oh, I got a question.
yes.
So I'd like to know why. I don't like setting precedents
Okay.
and not understanding why. So why?
Okay. Would somebody like to speak to that? Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Gar?
At the podium, at the
If you
podium.
could,
Thanks. Our presentation really covers the history of the waste transfer station, but the people most impacted by the facility wanted to speak, and the context of the history just flowed better, if that's acceptable.
I'm not here to rate acceptability. I just don't want to set precedents that we then follow later because somebody has done that.
thank you. It was a special request. So. Okay. With that, let's see, do we have to approve minutes? No. Okay. Sorry, we'll move to the items for discussion, and we do that after.
Regular public comment first.
So we're going to do, my understanding is that we'll do all of the public comment after because we can't split it up. But I think there's only maybe one comment that's not related, so, correct? Okay. So with that, I think we'll begin then with the presentation on the waste transfer station by the community group that's here. And there is a PowerPoint that accompanies the presentation. So I think, let's see, I know Anderson loaded that up for us. Thank you. What is the name of the presentation?
Hi, everyone. Janet Alexander Davis, Jerry Gall, NWCP, Cradle to Career, neighbors that live around the waste transfer station, people that live in the neighborhood and are affected and have been affected by it. And so we'd asked, I guess, at least I felt that we wanted to go first, and I'm not the person that's supposed to be here right now. They're late, but we're here. And so we were hoping then that the comments could come after that, the information, and then maybe that would give you more answers to some of your questions ahead of time. So that was really the reason. I understand understanding that you wanted to know why. So part of, I can't read it well, but this will be presented by members of the Evanston EJ Coalition, Evanston Waste Transfer Station Neighbors. EJ Coalition includes Evanston Cradle to Career, Environmental Justice Evanston, NAACP, Women's League of Women Residents, and other people that wanted to come and be here tonight, and they're in the public realm. So we'll start briefly with history.
The goals of our presentation tonight are to talk about the history, to outline some of the community concerns, past and present, regarding the waste transfer station operations, and to provide these community testimonials. Oh, sorry. No, I do, and I'm just not sure how to work it. Okay. And I missed the third bullet, request that the city of Evanston support addressing this untenable situation. So the history started in 1983, when the original permit application by the DuBois brothers, who was a family-owned business in the Fifth Ward, started operating the waste transfer station. The permit was approved by the Environment Department at Illinois EPA in February of 1984, but the city did not impose any health and safety protections despite being in a Black residential neighborhood. The detailed history of this can be found in the roundtable that was prepared, a very detailed study prepared in September 2023 issue, and I strongly recommend, if you haven't read it yet, to read it. Okay, in 1987, the Illinois General Assembly, so this is just 3 years later, the Illinois General Assembly prohibited solid waste transfer stations from being located within 1,000 feet of residential areas. They said in their preamble to this new law that living within 1,000 feet of a waste transfer station is harmful to public health and well-being.
And let's say that the beginning of the waste transfer station really was where actual garbage was brought in and laid there, including Northwestern even used to use that facility. So really had garbage. What we have now is a little different than that years later. But back then, I just want you to know, a garbage dump was in the middle of a Black neighborhood.
So obviously, the facility would be non-compliant under current standards. As of 2016, there were 250 residents living within 1,000 feet of the waste transfer station. Currently, there is construction to add housing stock in this area. It is a historic Black community. Despite gentrification, remains the heart of Evanston's vibrant African-American community. And of course, Evanston Township High School is about 500, the corner of Church and Dodge, where it's the beginning of the property of ETHS, is about 530 feet, or about a 3-minute walk from the waste transfer station, just to give you a sense of space. I don't know if it's working.
That's it. That's it.
Oh.
It went over. Ownership.
Yes. Okay. So in the interim, since the first owner transferred and established their permit, it has transferred 5 times from local businesses to current owners, which is Waste Management, the largest waste company in the U.S. Evanston failed to utilize these opportunities for transfer to revise the terms of the operating agreement. In 1994, the original owners transferred to Active Service and Browning Service Industries. In 2002, BFI transferred to Onyx Waste Services, which is based in France. Onyx then incorporated in 2008 into Veolia Environmental Services. In 2015, they transferred the property to Advanced Disposal, which is based in Wisconsin. And then in 2023, Advanced Disposal was acquired by Waste Management, which is based in Houston, Texas. And you can introduce. I want to introduce Baxter Swilley, who is co-chair of Environmental at Evanston EJ Coalition.
Don't worry, community concerns.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Baxter Swilly. I'm a second ward resident and a staff member at Evanston Cradle to Career. And obviously, we're very involved and very concerned about the waste transfer station at EC2C. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a presence in this presentation. I'll complete the next slides. So in 1998, the U.S. EPA notified the state of Illinois of a complaint received about the waste transfer station, and what everyone understands is Evanston's traditional historical African-American community, and no violations were issued. That's been a problem since 1998, I suspect. In 2007, the Illinois EPA cited Veolia for 2 permit violations. Neighbors submitted a 6-week log of odors and air pollution, which demonstrate severe infractions against their standards and quality of life. Next slide. Is that me?
Just press that.
Just press what? There we go. Continue. What's that? Is this where we are? Show me up.
Help us go back. Yeah, thank you.
In 2011, the City Council passed an important ordinance supporting home rule authority and detailing environmental damage and adverse impacts on public health and welfare caused by the waste transfer station. Many of these issues and problems have been underscored in the equity environmental investigation, and we're pleased that that report has been adopted, but there's much work to be done. The Illinois EPA removed a supplemental permit to Veolia for the waste transfer station despite formal objections submitted by Evanston's Mayor Elizabeth Tisdall, and later that year, Veolia sued Evanston for improper fees and unreasonably frequent inspections, which I think we all feel like they were not frequent enough. These tipping fees were held in the reserve fund. Am I doing the next slide, or is somebody else doing that? Okay. In 2012, Evanston Neighbors United formed a 501c3 to officially oppose the waste transfer station. Later that year, we increased complaints about noise, odors, vibrations from the waste transfer station continued, and Evanston had begun issuing fines. The Northwestern Brady scholars completed their study of the waste transfer station and concluded that they were not in compliance and there was an environmental injustice at play here. Their report recommended that Northwestern cease using it for their waste, and the university agreed. The Brady Scholars Program is a program of undergraduate students at Northwestern being mentored by graduate students. The whole program is sort of administered by Northwestern professors, so significant expertise and knowledge were brought to bear to make that decision about not using the waste transfer station because of its unjust impacts on a traditionally African-American community. Next slide. 2014, Evanston created an environmental justice subcommittee of the Environment Board, which eventually had become EJE, that was led by Jerry and Janet and others who have been fighting this fight for quite some time. The subcommittee was charged with developing policies, resolutions, and/or ordinances to avoid environmental injustices. Obviously, the environmental justice resolution was one of the outcomes of EJ. We named the WTS as a problem then, and we've named it as a problem now. In 2016, Evanston negotiated a host community agreement as part of the Veolia settlement, who had sued the city for excessive fines and inspections with little or no community input. And I think the community input component is probably what we find most discomforting in this whole saga with the waste transfer station. Next slide, please. The 2016 host community agreement? Oh, sorry, please.
It's okay. Thanks, Baxter.
I'm happy to relinquish the podium.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Santos, Second Ward resident since 2017. So the current status of the 2016 host community agreement, tipping fees were collected since then and released 1.2 million reserve tipping fees. From the agreement, it was amended from the $2 per ton fee to 75 cents per ton, including a small increases allowed to a maximum of $1 per ton over a 20-year period. This is less than half of the original agreement. Then the agreement also allowed Evanston to inspect the waste transfer station for permit compliance. Oops, sorry. What am I doing here? Okay, backwards. The use of the settlement funds and tipping fees. In 2016, the city conducted a public survey on the use of the agreement funds. Top recommendations from the residents living in the area within 2 blocks of the waste transfer station were the following. There were 6 suggestions. First one is to address the odor coming from the facility. 93% agreed and strongly agreed. The second one was periodic biannual monitoring of environmental impacts. 88% of the residents agreed and strongly agreed. Third one is reduce rodents living near the facility. 86% of the residents agreed and strongly agreed. Fourth is eliminate loud noises from the facility and the related trucking. 84% agreed and strongly agreed. Fifth is environmental study of the facility in the neighboring community. 83% agreed and strongly agreed. And finally, the sixth one is the increase of green space and natural areas. 83% agreed and strongly agreed. Despite these suggestions, these preferences appear to not have any impact to the spending plan of these tipping fees. Finally, the air quality report. In 2019, the city created this impact zone fund. Approved was the use of $175,000 to do this air quality monitoring project, and in 2020, the results were inconclusive and heavily criticized. The approved remaining funds for were used for alley and sidewalk improvements between 2018 and 2023. The remaining funds from the host community funds were moved from the general fund to the solid waste enterprise fund. Next up is Jody Eason. She will be talking about current community concerns. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, Jody Eason. I am a Second Ward resident since 2023, and we just wanted to call attention to the fact that in 2019, it's clear that neither any municipal trash from the city of Evanston or from the Northwestern University, as previously mentioned, is received at the waste transfer station. And in 2019, there was a fire there releasing an unknown amount of fumes. Of course, our Evanston Fire Department was quick to respond within 30 minutes, but no warnings were issued to any of the residents as to anything that may be coming out as a result of that fire. So there was no mitigation whatsoever and no follow-up. So where does that leave us today? So our current community concerns, the Cook County Solid Waste Department is delegated by Illinois, the EPA department to inspect and monitor the waste transfer station about 6 times a year. We have questions about this that we're hoping that the city can work with the community so we can get some answers to these questions. When do these inspections take place? What is being measured and monitored? And how can residents access those results? The city of Evanston, under that 2016 host agreement, can also inspect the waste transfer station for permit compliance. Outside of complaint investigations, is the city conducting full inspections? How or where do residents access these reports? Further, how does the waste transfer station inspect their loads to ensure waste meets environmental restrictions? So no hazardous waste, no biomedical waste. What steps are in place to alert the community of potential hazards resulting from fires or any receipt of non-compliant wastes? And how many trucks per day travel to and from the facility? There are currently chemicals being released to mask odors. That was as a part of the result of the agreement that was put in place and because of citizen complaints. But what's in those chemicals, right? As a resident and a neighbor, it smells worse than the trash. We'd like to know where citizens could access the material data chemical sheets to find out exactly where that is. Some people have actually reported having adverse effects. What is the current waste volume, and how does the city ensure that they receive the correct tipping payment? So it's less than what was agreed to when it was put in place, right? But how do we know we're getting that money as a city? And then how are the compliance reports generated? Is that coming from Waste Management? What do they include? And how do citizens access that data? So we're interested in working collaboratively to work on some of these issues and to see a positive outcome. So the question is, what's next? And I believe, Shri, if we have time in our allotted time for our 15 minutes, Shri was going to speak. If not, it'll go to public comment. So
I can also wait for public comment if that's okay.
yeah, we were pushing through there. My stopwatch is in my pocket. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for that very informative and important presentation. Yes. So we'll now move to public comment, and I'll ask, there's, I think, 2 commenters that are not related to the waste transfer station, and that, yes? Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do public comment and then staff, if that's all right. I'm sorry? We'll have public comment, then staff is going to also give a presentation. So, I'm sorry. Yes.
Public comment just for this item?
Just for this item. I think there's 2 that aren't, but just to move. Okay. So we'll now take public comment. And if it's okay, Stacy Cloud and Jeremy Esparza, after these, at the end of the public comments, since both of your comments are unrelated to waste transfer station, I'll ask that you both go last. Okay. So first we have Jordan McClure.
Yeah, hi, my name's Jordan. I've been in the second ward for about 3 to 4 years. We live about a block and a half-ish from the waste transfer station along Mason Park. And yeah, just want to say that not a big fan of the station. It's somewhat of an eyesore. We like to sleep with our windows open, but we can't really due to the noise and the trucks that seem to line up and kind of idle along Church pretty early in the morning. It's also pretty noisy just generally during the day. We can hear the tipping, and there's often pretty big vibrations, which you can tell is from there because of the tipping sound. And there's also the odors of the waste transfer station. And then I've also learned from the neighbors about that these masking agents are sprayed to prevent the odors from being too bad. And I'm really interested to know like what those are, what's in them, how often they're sprayed, and how much of it, and just more information on what I'm breathing in the air. That's it.
Thank you very much. And 2 minutes per comment, maximum of 2 minutes. Thank you. Next, we have Mary Beth Roth.
Good evening. I'm Mary Beth Roth, Second Ward, co-chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee of the local NAACP branch, which is committed to anti-racism. In 2025, as part of a grant project funded by the American Association for the Advancement of Science, our committee interviewed several Black residents who, at that time in 2025, lived near or grew up near the Evanston waste transfer station. 3 themes consistently emerged from those interviews. First, the residents described long-term environmental burdens associated with the WTS. Strong odors, constant truck traffic, noise, concerns about air quality, and garbage trucks that were traveling by their homes during the day, shaking some of them up and disrupting daily life. And you'll hear more about that in the next speeches. Secondly, residents raised concerns about environmental inequity. The WTS, as you all know, is located in a historically black neighborhood, and this reflects the broader reprehensible patterns across the country where environmentally harmful facilities are placed in communities of color. Third, participants spoke about broader community impacts. The residents believe the presence of the transfer station discourages business and investment that might otherwise support neighborhood development. Our hope at the NAACP is that the city will commit to work with the EJ Coalition Subcommittee to raise up these residents' voices in future conversations about zoning, environmental policy, and long-term planning for the site. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Cindy Levitt.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, council members, for allowing us this time. My name's Cindy Levitt, and I live in Church Street Village, which is right next door to the waste transfer station. I can see and hear their operations looking out my third-floor window. I moved to Evanston in 1976, so I've been here quite a while in the 6th Ward, and I lived there for 29 years in the 6th Ward, and we did not have a waste transfer station there in my old neighborhood. I never worried about what I was breathing there, and I never worried that my 2 daughters were breathing in unhealthy air either. I didn't worry about what was in the soil when we had a little garden up there. So I moved to Church Street Village in January 2008. I was the first one that actually moved in when it was still under construction. I wanted to stay in Evanston, but I needed to downsize, and I also wanted to live in a more diverse community. When I moved there, I didn't understand the impact it would actually have on the quality of life. The noise, the vibrations, the constant beeping of the trucks, and the daily disruptions are one thing, but I've also been the most concerned always about the air quality and what we're breathing. Both the diesel fumes that are there all the time because the trucks are coming and going, and what's being dumped. Even though the sign at the front says there's no hazardous waste, who's sitting there looking through the bags? If a contractor working in Evanston is doing a demo with asbestos, lead paint, it's in the bags, it's coming in and it's getting dumped, no one's inspecting them, and that's in our air. I personally am one of the people that the fragrance of this misting agent, it's caused me to have what's called fragrance allergies or chemical sensitivities. So I can't be around people with perfume or Febreze on their clothes and stuff like that. And I can't definitely say it's part of the waste transfer station, but when they started this chemical masking agent, and it's gotten worse every year. So I personally would rather have the smell of garbage back because I think that's better. Oops, out of time. Well, I just wanted to also ask my neighbors to raise their hand. We have other Church Street Village residents here who are not speaking. So you can see there's many of us here who are interested in this issue. So mainly, I just want to ask you to take a stronger role in protecting our health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Risti Katrov.
Is it ready, right? Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I live in Church Street Village with Miss Cindy as well since 2022. The nature of my work that I do, it's giving me the opportunity to have, let's say, a week off or 2 days off or 2 weeks off. I have 2 kids. We spend a lot of time in Mason Park, and there is definitely no way for us to open a window, especially during the months of May, June, July, August, because it's warmer and the odors are, even though masked with these nozzles that they have on the top of the warehouse, they're pretty strong. They don't cause me to feel dizzy or something. At 40 years old, I don't know, maybe later they might, but there's definitely an odors. That's the first thing. Second thing is what we're gonna do with that first foundation of townhouses that I start with. I'm with the beginning, then after me are Cindy and other people. We have a structure vibration when they dumped, let's say, a solid waste containers. I do understand, since I know what's going on. This solid waste got stick on the walls of the container, and they have to somehow unload it. So in order to unload it, they are lifting up the container and banging in the ground. So after hard work, I want to come home and sleep, not get a container banging like in the cement over there, and like waking up my kids, the little one, the other one, when they have to wake up later, you know. So that's also my second thing. And the third thing is the truck traffic. It's pretty heavy in certain days of the week, and it's causing a traffic jam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Srivathsava Rangarajan.
That's the best pronunciation part of my name.
All right.
It's fully ready. Hi, yeah, my name is Sri. I also live in Church Street Village. I live further down from Cindy, like 2-3 homes. We moved in here in 2020, and I have a direct view into this. So like I'm looking into the waste transfer station as it's happening. I also work from home for the past 6 years, and I can corroborate every single thing that's been said here. I can feel the building shaking, right? I'm worried about the foundation. It does stink. It stinks worse when it's humid out because physics, right? So all of these things are true. The other thing I can also speak to is from my bedroom window, since I can look into the waste transfer station, they have floodlights on at night, which is good, except it's shining straight through into my window. And they also work nights and weekends sometimes, right? So that's sort of the kind of overarching theme that I'd point out here. Lots of trucks, them banging containers to get things out of the containers, them working nights and weekends. These are all hallmarks of a really good hustling waste transfer station. I have no problem with that. It just also happens to me by my backyard. That's where I have a problem with it, right? So if those things stopped, it would be a bad waste transfer station. If they went on, it would be a bad residence, right? And we're kind of trying to choose between these two things when there is an option where these two can coexist in a different way, right? I have an example if you guys want to hear. This Sunday, 2 a.m., right? Like, so 2 days ago, I just woke up to use the restroom, and I don't know if you guys can hear this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if it'll work this way. I'm happy to send you guys the video, but it's like, it's 2 a.m. on a Sunday, right? I'm trying to sleep, and they are working, which is good. Just don't work in my backyard.
Thank you. And feel free to send us
Yeah.
videos. Thank you. Paula Scholl.
Hi, Paula Scholl, Ninth Ward, but I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, which is a member of the Environmental Justice Coalition, so I'm here today because of that. In the presentation this evening, I heard several things. We have a waste transfer station in a historically black neighborhood that was grandfathered when the Illinois setback rules were set, resulting in at least 250 households located within 1,000 feet of the waste transfer station, something that is not allowed anywhere else in our state. We have an operating permit that does not include needed measures to protect health and well-being, even though there were opportunities to revise the operating agreement during 5 changes of ownership of the waste transfer station. The settlement agreement money has been spent on infrastructure in the area, as Director Kano pointed out in his letter, but unfortunately that spend hasn't remedied the core issues that you saw presented here that the residents in the area are facing. Residents in the area continue to have their health and well-being and even their sleep affected by the waste transfer station and don't always report it anymore. I think maybe there's been some loss of hope there. And now we have a coalition in place that has made a request to partner with the city to have their questions answered and to address many of these issues in collaboration. And I really hope that can happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tanya Noble.
Thank you. My name is Tanya Noble. I'm actually a third ward resident, but I've lived in the city of Evanston for 25 years. And I also am a retired city of Evanston first responder. So my experience came through working in that neighborhood, and I've met many of the people that are here today and was a member of at least 3 different iterations of Environmental Justice Evanston. And every single one of those groups, our main objective was to visit the waste transfer station issue. And I can tell you, it's an injustice. We all know that. Everyone here knows it's an injustice. And the confirmed health disparities that we know exist, our own very own health department produced a report for us. They are a result of a social structure that put marginalized communities at greater risk. And they caused this environmental hazard to each and every person that lives there and works there and goes to school there and walks through there. And I think that it's a significant ethical wrong, and it needs to be addressed. And we're not the first community that has had something like this in our midst. We just have not grasped a way to address it. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to look at others that have resolved issues like this. It's Chicago. Chicago has done it with several waste transfer facilities. I just don't think we've had a lot of city support for this. So please, I applaud you for allowing us to do this and help us get this resolved. Thank you.
Okay, these are online now. Ezra Shevik, online, and are they unmuted? Ezra? Okay, okay, I'll circle back to Ezra. Mary Rosinski?
Hi, thank you. And that presentation was excellent. Thank you. I read the Gavin's reports, and I still don't understand how come they are not being phased out. They don't belong in a residential area, and I'm just wondering what we can do to ensure that it does not sell again to somebody else, or that it is encouraged and helped to move and relocate out of the neighborhood and into a more appropriate area. The second thing I wanted to comment on tonight isn't related to this, but is related to the Prieto Center. And it's discouraging to see so much money being spent on a building we just purchased as if we didn't know that was going to be there. I would love a resolution or a referral to have it that the city does not buy any building before they've had a professional inspection done, like people buy other buildings and homes. So we should have known, the council member should have known before making a decision to move forward on spending however much it was, $2.5 million for Prieto, that they were going to need a new AC unit, that they were going to need all the money that we've spent over there. I don't think it's fair to you, and I don't think it's fair to the residents that we are not doing this. And on any building we are having renovated, there should be professional, independent inspections that can be provided to you when we move forward. So thank you to everyone who spoke tonight on the transfer station. And I hope that gets resolved over the next period of time.
Thank you. Next, Tricia Connolly.
Good evening. Tricia Conley, Second Ward for the last 26 years, approximately. I'm also here to speak about D1 regarding the waste transfer station. You know, it's really unfortunate that we're still figuring out how to rearrange policies to have a dump exist here, as though a dump in a heavily populated area would ever be workable and act as a good neighbor. Are we kidding ourselves? And worse, as has been said tonight and before, over the many years, it sits next to a park and within a block of ETHS and a majority Black neighborhood. Meanwhile, the city just cleared out a lot of trees that are adjacent to the transfer station all the way down to Lake Street for the Mason Park expansion, which indeed adds yet another layer to this issue of this being next to this facility. In the City of Evanston Environmental Equity Report, the following issues rose to the top: tree canopy, high volume of traffic, air pollution, trash overflows. Perhaps we need to assess what makes most sense here, being that we're subject to the dust and noise pollution from the facility. I would argue that paving alleys should be done with city money that already exists, based on that being in the packet today, that money from the waste transfer station was used to pave alleys. I think that's normally what a city does over and above getting money from an entity, but that's another story. The fund should be used from waste management, earmarked to mitigate the environmental harm caused to the surrounding community by planting many more trees surrounding the area from the start. It's time to begin serious discussions to have waste management find another location that is not located near a highly concentrated population. As we chanted
Thank you very
back
much.
in 2010, dump the dump. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ezra Shevik? Ezra? Okay. Then Stacy Cloud. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more on the waste transfer station. Dr. Marie Cabilla?
Hi, I'm Dr. Marika Bia. I'm an ETHS parent. I'm also an obstetrician gynecologist, and I'm a physician champion for the UIC-affiliated Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Unit, a group of health professionals who collaborate to address health issues related to environmental exposures. The city has reported that there's an astounding 13-year difference in life expectancy between Evanston residents who live in more affluent areas and those who live in the Fifth Ward. Clearly, there are many different reasons for this huge difference in life expectancy, but we can't let analysis paralysis prevent us from acting on the multitude of factors that play a role in this abysmal health disparity. Studies have concluded that people with lower incomes are significantly more likely than higher income people to live near a polluting industrial facility. Unfortunately, Evanston's own waste transfer station is only one more example of this environmental injustice. Air pollution from landfills is associated with lung cancer mortality as well as increased severity of respiratory diseases such as asthma. Folks who live close to waste facilities have also reported increased rates of symptoms such as shortness of breath, eye irritation, hoarseness, unusual fatigue, among others. Despite the fact that in 1987, Illinois prohibited the establishment of waste processing facilities within 1,000 feet of a residential area, a grandfather clause has allowed these harmful exposures near Fifth Ward residents, as well as in the literal backyard of our high school students. I urge the city to listen to the neighbors who will be presenting today and consider how the waste transfer station may contribute to the alarming disparity in our health outcomes. Keep in mind that the state of Illinois decided 40 years ago that there was enough evidence of harm to outlaw the practice of having waste transfer stations near residential areas. The community ask is that the city review the waste station's compliance with local ordinances and state permit conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Stacy Cloud.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Cloud, and I'm 11 years old, and I live right near the intersection I'm here to talk about. I'm here to speak about the Greenleaf-Asbury intersection, which is extremely dangerous. Crashes happen often there, and sometimes people get hurt. I also cross that intersection 4 times a day to go to school. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I saw a crash there, and I got really scared. And also, a couple of weeks ago, I almost got ran over myself when walking to school with my brother. I noticed that there's a flag that says that there is a stop sign ahead, but it's not enough. cars still ignore the stop sign. The chief of police said that they've been patrolling the area and they also see the problem and have been issuing citations for ignoring the stop sign. To lower the chances of future crashes and to make that intersection safer, I am begging you to install a traffic light there. It would be horrible if someone got run over, especially if it was a child. Thank you.
Thank you.
What streets did you say? I'm sorry, what streets did you say?
What intersection?
What intersection? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Esparza?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy Esparza. I'm a business agent for Laborers Local 1. First off, just hope that folks that are speaking about the waste transfer get the help that they're needed. An injury to one is an injury to all. I'm sure as everybody knows, so best of luck to them. But I'm here to speak today about bid 26-06 and the responsible bidder ordinance. So Laborers Local 1 represents over 1,700 construction workers that live and work in Chicago, some of which live in Evanston, many of which work in Evanston. I sent a letter to to City Council earlier today regarding our position with the apparent low bidder, Brutus Inc., for bid, like I said, bid 2606. And it's come to our attention, as I mentioned, they are the apparent low bidder. It's our understanding that they do not comply with the Evanston Apprenticeship Training Program requirement in the responsible bidder ordinance. Furthermore, they have, I provided evidence to council of evidence of them not complying with the Prevailing Wage Act for failure to pay for training for the past 2 years to people working on their projects. None of the contractors actually comply with the LEP or the responsible bidder ordinance for this project, which is an overarching problem in Evanston that I feel warrants deeper discussion. But nonetheless, here today to ask to ask City Council, to ask this committee to hold that project, deem Brutus non-compliant for the evidence shown, and ideally rebid the contract to ensure that contractors are complying with the ordinance that was passed over a year ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That now concludes our public comment portion, and I believe now staff will give us a presentation on some of the latest updates on the waste transfer station.
Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Laura Biggs. I'm the city engineer. My presentation is not nearly as detailed as what was put together by the community, and so I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff that they went into quite a bit of interesting detail about. So just background on the waste transfer station, which is currently owned by and operated by Waste Management. It was approved by the City Council in 1983, and it was permitted by the IPA in 1984. And over time, it clearly has been a source of a lot of nuisances for the neighborhood. We did sue the owner back when it was Veolia, I think, and then we entered into a settlement agreement in 2016, which was approved by the City Council. So the settlement agreement terms, and this is obviously a very brief list of a multi-page document, but there was an initial financial settlement of approximately $1.2 million. We receive annual tonnage fees, which are paid on a quarterly basis. And then the agreement does state that Advanced Disposal could operate a waste transfer station at 1107 Church until such time as the property permanently ceases to be used as a waste transfer station or is certified closed by the Illinois EPA. This agreement is assigned to the successor. So since the settlement agreement...
That agreement.
I'm sorry? Okay. Since the settlement agreement, the city has signed off that they can just continue operating and according to the agreement as it changes, the property changes ownership, as long as they continue in the same use. And It also states that the city cannot leverage additional fees other than things that go to basically everybody gets a property tax increase, but we can't create fees to go to the waste transfer station or their specific operation. I did include, there are tipping fee statements, what the tipping fees are going to be, which were also brought up by the community, and it's actually outlined in the agreement that Evanston agreed to these tipping fees. So in terms of tracking the funds, obviously, originally it was put into the general fund. There was concern that it wasn't really being tracked, so they moved to the solid waste fund. Ultimately, what was coming out of the spending plan were a series of capital projects, and so they moved it into the capital improvement fund. What's listed here is the initial settlement amount and the host fee revenue that we've received from all of the tonnage fees. That totals approximately $1.9 million, well, $2 million. On 2018, there was a presentation at the city council about what to do with the spending, with the fees that we were receiving, and the city council directed it to be spent in a way that immediately benefits the immediate area around the waste transfer station. Basically, the 2nd and 5th ward is that area. That it was then sent sort of to the ward alderman to lead the discussion about how those funds be spent. There was a spending plan that was developed, and that was presented to the city council, and it was approved in 2019. Here's a series of the things that were done. It did start with an environmental study that was basically monitoring air quality and then reporting out on it. As the community presentation pointed out, there were a lot of criticisms of that study, and it was sort of deemed to be inconclusive because there was no effort in the study to monitor air quality outside of the transfer station impact versus air quality from the transfer station impacts. So it was unclear, based on the results of that study, how to separate that and really see what was specifically caused by WTS. And it was only done for 9 months. The recommendation basically was that you would need to do it over multiple year time period in order to really understand long-term what are the averages of the air quality. That would have been fairly expensive, and so for whatever reason that I was not involved in, it was decided not to move forward with that. But we did do a number of alley projects. There was a high demand for it. Alleys, as you know, are paid for generally through a 50-50 process. And at the time, the logic was that this would have a substantial benefit, not necessarily mitigating the waste transfer station impacts, but improving the life of the, improving the life of the residents that live near the waste transfer station in other ways by improving the alleys. So they had to deal less with the issues associated around gravel alleys and the flooding issues, wear and tear on vehicles, et cetera. So we did do a number of alley improvements. The final one was completed in 2023. Roughly 7 alleys were improved. There were also some sidewalks that were improved in various locations around the waste transfer station. Currently, this is where we are at with the balance. We have approximately $402,000 that have built up and has not been allocated to anything, that is sitting in the capital improvement fund. At the time that we finished the alleys, or as we were finishing the alleys, which was around the time that our 2nd and 5th ward aldermans came on into their current positions, and there was a changeover in leadership, it kind of got left that when we built up more funds, we would then discuss what to do with the funds. And so staff was sort of waiting for there to be around $500,000-ish before we jumped into another planning session about what to do with the funds. And so we are not there yet, but we are definitely close. And certainly that was just a decision that was made internally. It's certainly up for debate. And with that, I'm going to turn over the conversation to my colleague, Ike Okbo, who is the Health and Human Services Director.
Thank you.
Chair will be able to ask them questions. Okay.
Good day, members of the APNW Committee. Ike Ogbo, Director, Health and Human Services Department. I will focus on the inspection piece of the presentation. Well, the waste transfer station is permitted by IEPA, but the delegate authority that conducts the inspection is the Office of Sustainability and Environment of Cook County. They inspect the facility 5 to 6 times, roughly, every year, and that also includes complaints. The complaints mainly focus on runoff, rodent control, litter control, and of course, smell. And as you can see, this is the table illustrating the number of inspections per year. Coupled with the inspections provided by the county, the Health and Human Services also conducts inspections, but based on complaints. And you can see the illustration there. We focus mainly on smell. Most of the complaints that we have received over the years has been due to smell. So Cook County submits quarterly reports of the tonnage to the waste transfer station submits quarterly reports to the county, and we evaluated these tonnage reports in comparison to the fees that are remitted to the city, and it appears to correlate. And this table here illustrates how much tonnage and the years as well. So that's pretty much our presentation, and if there are any questions, we'll attempt to address them.
Thank you, Director Ogbo. Okay, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the presentations. I have a couple questions. So you mentioned, Director Biggs, about the city. Is it the city or state determines that they can stay where they are as it changes? I didn't understand that.
The city, so I don't know who originally was making those decisions and how much happened before the settlement agreement.
Right.
But in the settlement agreement, the city agreed that there could be a waste transfer station there, and that ability to operate could continue as long as they were permitted and they continuously operate a waste transfer station. So the city is not doing the permitting, the IEPA is, but essentially the city agreed that that could continue on regardless of who owned or operated the waste transfer station.
Good evening, Alex Reggie, Corporation Counsel. I just wanted to clarify that Veolia actually sued the city over the city's regulations attempting to control the waste transfer station. So that's what initiated the lawsuit back in around 2011. The settlement came out of that, and it did create these regulations, but essentially the state regulates and permits the waste transfer station, not the city. When the city attempted to pass additional regulations, that's when the lawsuit ensued against the city.
Okay, thank you. And that answered question 2 about the lawsuit. So where we are at tonnage is where we have to be. We can't change that. We can't regulate that any further without possibility of lawsuit?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I have some more, but I'll leave the space for my colleagues.
Councilmember Newsma.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess this is a continuation of Corporation Counsel Ruggie's point. What, if any, legal authority does the city of Evanston have to force them to do anything differently? Like, do we have, it sounds like we don't have very much authority whatsoever.
So we have general regulations maintaining public nuisance, including smell or noise. So I know one public commenter mentioned some construction or activity happening at 2 a.m. That would likely violate the city's noise ordinance and our prohibition on work at those times. So the city does have the ability to regulate those nuisance items. And oftentimes when the city receives those complaints, we go out and view them or issue them. But for the noise, if the city receives a 311 or a 911 call at 2 in the morning because 311 is closed, and the city's able to go out and observe the noise complaint, we'll issue the citation and we'll go through that route.
So I guess part of the message here is to encourage residents, if the waste transfer station is operating outside of their, allowed parameters, to please report that 311 or 911 so that we have a record and that the city can take appropriate enforcement action. But even if they're operating as they're allowed, it's still going to be in the noses of the neighbors, a public nuisance because of the smell, but there's nothing we can do about that.
That's when our health department can reach out to the IEPA and have them come back out and encourage the state to assist the city in that enforcement.
Okay. As noted in our memo, the tonnage of material going through the waste transfer station is coming down quite significantly. It's almost half in 2025 what it was just a few years ago. So as I understand, it's Cook County that gives us those numbers, and Cook County has some procedures to validate or double check to audit those measurements.
Well, it's quite unclear as to how the Cook County Office of Sustainability and Environment evaluates the tonnage reports. But it appears that that report is provided to them on a quality basis, as I mentioned earlier, and during the inspections as well. So when they are conducting the inspections, they are asking for information pertaining to tonnage, which the waste transfer station then submits to the inspector who is inspecting at that time.
So somebody at the county is presumably not taking Waste Management's word for it. They're doing some kind of validation of the numbers.
It's unclear as to how they're evaluating it. It's not specific as to if they are ensuring or if they are seeing the scales as the trucks come in, if there's someone who's available during those times. It doesn't appear so. So I would say that it's quite unclear as to how they're making that determination.
Okay. And then one last question about the type of material that's going into this facility and where is it coming from?
I know that that facility specifically does not accept recycling materials. If they do receive those recycling materials, for example, batteries, it goes to another waste transfer station, notably the one that is in Northbrook. Most of the materials that they receive are municipal solid waste and, of course, construction and demolition items.
And it's serving a much broader area than just the city of Evanston. In fact, maybe not even the city of Evanston.
Yes, it's serving a broader area, not just city of Evanston.
Is there any city of Evanston material going through there?
I'm not quite clear on that. It doesn't appear that it only serves Evanston, but other communities.
Okay, so we're dealing with other people's garbage here.
Yes.
All right. I mean, that's a point to note. I also want to make the point that the stinky stuff is the organic waste that, at least in Evanston, and at least hopefully or theoretically could be composted and wouldn't go to that facility if it were serving Evanston. So this is a plea for everyone else in the community, in the broader area, who is throwing away garbage that's coming to Evanston. If they did a better job composting, that would be less of a nose nuisance at this facility.
And it doesn't appear that any composting is undertaken at this specific area.
Right. So it's banana peels and chicken bones and stuff that people are just throwing into their garbage in Northbrook or wherever, and that's ending up passing through Evanston. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So the city currently does not, even though I know the agreement allowed the city to do inspections, the city doesn't conduct any inspections?
So our inspections are complaint-based. When we receive a complaint via 311, that's how we track the complaints. We go out and respond and ensure that the corrections are made based on the complaints that are received.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned in the presentation, the Office of Environment and Sustainability, they do conduct regular inspections, including complaint inspections as well.
And in terms of accessing those reports from those inspections?
So that's something that we can work on to make it more visible and transparent.
Okay, that's great. I would like to, ask that those could be posted on the website. And then, is there, the IEPA permit, what does it permit? Does it permit a maximum tonnage? Does it permit a number of truck trips per day? Because I think that's something perhaps we could, this is something I'd like legal to look into. Could we put a cap on the number of truck trips, for example?
That is more of a legal question.
And I don't, expect you to have an answer.
Yeah, that's something we can look into and get back to you.
That would be great. And I'd also like us to look into phasing it out. I think to also legally look into phasing this out. I think that we wouldn't ban it today, but it would be a phase out based on air quality, based on noise, based on odor, based on all the problems that are impacting this community. It's legally non-conforming property, correct? I think. So I think we could I think it's legally non-conforming, so if we were to prohibit any future waste transfer stations in Evanston and give a reasonable time, 5 to 7 years, or whatever it would be considered reasonable, to phase it out, and I would love to look at like a cap on truck trips and, what we can do in the interim to really support a, better quality of living in this neighborhood. For the moment, that's it for the moment. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you all. So the numbers show I'm not getting those calls. When I get a call, you get an email. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Laura, when I get an email, do you get an email?
Yes, Councilmember.
Okay. Cindy, are you still here? When you send me an email, do you get a response? For the most part, were you the one who emailed me? And I'm not even supposed to ask you, so I'm sorry. When I get nope, I broke the wall, and I apologize for that. I'm supposed to only talk to them. When I get emails, the city gets a response, gets something from me saying, what is this? I know we have problems with the lights because we had that taken care of within a day. I have no problem picking up my phone and calling or going when I know there's a problem. Now I have a big packet, and the number showed. I don't have a lot of calls. 311 didn't have a lot of calls, so I couldn't do anything about it. That's all the second and fifth ward. I couldn't do anything about it because I didn't get calls. I knew it was there. I'm not going to pretend. I grew up there until I was 14. 1823 Lions, check the records. So I knew it was there. It was there when I was a kid. But I didn't know we were having enormous smell issues. I wrote it down. You all in the next 3 minutes will get an email saying we're going to have a meeting soon to see the site if we can. I'm nervous about that. I don't like bugs and rats, but I'll do it. But if I know the issues that can immediately be fixed, I will deal with them. That's my job. And I take this job seriously. So I need to know when you do 311 because I recommend you do 311 first. Don't call me at midnight about the truck bouncing but if you call 311 and email me, I will follow up with that 311. Where are we? Edgar, do I do that? Do I say complaint 1832, what's up? Okay, yeah, they get tired of me because I get tired of y'all complaining and we don't do the job. But I have to know. So I've made a list of these things. Getting it out of here, that would be our pleasure. I don't know that we can. The lawyers, I'm not putting you on the spot. But we'll look at it. But again, we have to know these things. I have to know that at 3 o'clock, something's going on in the morning, because that is very inappropriate, regardless of what it is. So I just implore everybody to let us know. It is annoying, but it's our job. But I've got to know and have the data and the email that you sent me to send staff. So we will work on this, the lights, the tapping, the 2 a.m., the smell, all of those things. We'll work on it, and we'll have some meetings soon. So I appreciate you all coming to remind us, because again, I'm not going to imagine or dare to say I didn't know a waste transfer station was in a community. I think we talked about it with Ryan Field, and they didn't want to switch. The 7th Ward didn't want to switch, if you remember. I said I'll take Ryan in the concerts and they can have the garbage. Nobody's taking me up on that offer.
Thank you. So there's much to discuss here about this. Jerry, sure, really quick. Quickly?
First of all, thank you so much for having this on the agenda and listening to the community. And thank you, Councilmember Harris, for your willingness to receive the complaints. But that burden should not be on Councilmember Harris.
Right.
And I think we all understand that we do have home rule authority, and that when Veolia did not like the conditions of Evanston's attempts at regulation, we decided to settle that lawsuit. And because we needed the money, and that's always going to be the case. But flexing some muscle, showing some leadership, and actually making an effort to remove this untenable situation is what we're hopefully going to have a conversation about. So thank you again for your efforts.
Thank you all. And I do want to say, I think, sorry, Ms. Alexander.
Love you, Chrissy. You know, you get tired. I've been out here over 50 years, and there's some things that we have fought, at least the last 20 years. Cindy, Tanya can tell you, 3 other organizations before EJE came along. We were out here fussing about that. And so when we say we're not getting complaints, just like as I grew up here, I thought there was nothing you could really do about it. Because we're not powerful enough. Because our skin is brown and black. Because we're well, listen, the best you should do is get some education on all of the excuses and all the things that you know people say, either if you don't say it, but behind our backs, that's what it is. That's why the fact that we die before you die in a white neighborhood, what I've heard is someone says, well, you know, that's the way we live. I live wonderfully. I cleaned, I worked, and I did all of that. We've gotten tired. We used to do all of this. This was organized many different times over time. Nobody wanted to listen to us, right? That's right. That's it. We have to say that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I wasn't, and by no means am I blaming the community. I'm by no means blaming the community. But when I don't get calls that something is going wrong, right? I just have to deal with that. But again, I knew the transfer station. I'm not acting like I'm ignorant of that. Please don't see me shirking that off my weight. But the gravity of it, the last time you brought it to our attention, and now, and yes, I'm black, I know. And now that the community is changing, right? That and can I say that? Maybe not, but I'm going to. Now that the community is changing from when I lived there as a black child, and it's not looking like me anymore. We're hearing a lot more about it. And that's sad. And that troubles me. Doesn't mean I can't still and shouldn't do the work. But that's the reality of it. That once the community started changing, it was unacceptable. It was acceptable when it was just me and my people there. Right. And I got to be real, whether you agree or not, check it out. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, I know this has been going on and people have been fighting this, including myself over 10 or 15 years ago, because of this issue. So I think this does merit another meeting, and I'll talk to my colleagues about how we do that. But we do need to see air quality. The last study was in 2019. I think there's concerns. It was inconclusive. There was some degree of formaldehyde that was considered inconclusive. Those concentration levels. I think we also need to discuss with the community how the money is spent. I think there's some concern about meeting with the community, how we establish those community meetings, and about posting all the reports. So any city inspection, whether it's the Cook County's reports on tonnage, it feels like there's not a lot of clarity as to verification of the actual tonnage. And so if we could look into that, our Attorney Ruggie, in terms of if we can put caps on truck routes, if we can phase this out, which I believe we can over a period of time, if it's reasonable due to the negative impacts of pollution, sound, odor, and everything else, and prohibit it going forward, that would be great. And then we can discuss about how we can continue this and try to really move forward finally with this very serious issue. Thank you, everybody who came out this evening. Really appreciate it. So with that, I would like to move that we move everything forward with a neutral, how do we do that? Oh, the minutes, I'm sorry. Would somebody like to move to approve the minutes?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the minutes from the ANPW committee meeting of March 9th, 2026.
Second? Okay, they've been moved and seconded? Okay, I think we have to. I'll second.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Aye. Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris? Aye. Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Okay.
And then at the request of the chair, in the interest of moving along with our evening, I will make the motion to move the entire consent agenda to council with a neutral recommendation from this committee.
I would like to remove item A2 from
Okay.
that.
With the exception of A2.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Aye. Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Then we'll now move.
Then I'll move item A2, approval of the BMO Harris credit card activity.
Second.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
I abstain.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Do we have to move it forward with a neutral vote? the
Yeah,
consent
we just,
agenda?
that was the
That was
motion,
it. Okay.
so that has been
Great.
accomplished.
Okay, meeting adjourned. We'll start P&D at 6:30. Thank you.